Hey everybody, this is Allie. Welcome back to my channel, Color Mama 360. It's time for another video, so good morning, good night, good middle of the night, depending on when you're watching. Today's video is all about 5 supplies I would not repurchase as a beginner. These are, of course, as always, my own opinions. They're just 5 supplies that I feel like when you're very first starting out coloring or you're in kind of that first year, these supplies felt harder to me than others. So there's supplies that personally, if I start over again, I wouldn't purchase these first. That doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't purchase them at all, but they're just not a supply that would be kind of on the top of my buy first list. And I definitely would kind of focus elsewhere when it comes to buying supplies before going towards these ones. So like I said, these are my own opinions. Some things work better for others, and so other people might have other supplies that they feel like are harder to use or not as great for beginners. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off real strong with Derwent Inktense. Now, this is the only set of Inktense that I have. They are an ink-based, water-soluble pencil. So this is a set of 12. If you take a look here, you can see I haven't used a whole lot of them. There's a couple that are shorter than others and some I haven't used at all. So I just haven't gotten the hang of these yet. I haven't really sat down either and taken the time to watch tutorials or get to know how to use them better. So that part's on me. But I do think that there are just other avenues to go as a beginner if you're wanting some sort of water soluble pencil. Now, if you're wanting something with ink like these, then I think these are the way to go. I personally didn't really think that I needed necessarily a water soluble ink pencil to start out with. I think that I could have just gone with like a watercolor pencil or something similar on that range. However, I have seen people do really awesome things with these. It also seems like you either love them or you hate them. So I think if you are the kind of person that is really wanting a water soluble ink pencil, look through some other people's colored pages that you know use Inktense. If that's kind of the look you're going for, then it may be worth trying to get these later on down the line and watching some tutorials and getting to know how to use them better. However, I think when you're just first starting out, they are not the right way to go. Next up, I have this watercolor crayon set. Now, I just bought these at a little market. Just says Studio Series. Do they have any sort of other? I don't really see any sort of other brand. So it was very random, but they sounded interesting, so I thought that I would try them out. It could just be me. Maybe I don't know how to use them, but again, I just don't like them. I've used them on one page that I didn't finish in sort of my practice book, which is just a copy of Small Victories, and I did not like the effect that they gave, and so I would maybe try using them again. I wonder how they would do in like a Camellia Dereco book. I could see them kind of being fun in there, but in a general sense, I don't like them super well. So it says vivid colors, super smooth. I would agree with those statements. Blends with water. I didn't really feel like they blended all that well. So this could be one that I just haven't used enough, but also I don't really think that they're a medium that I'm gonna come to often. So that is a set of watercolor crayons. Next, I have Distress ink. Now, I use Distress ink, and I have pages that I really enjoy that I've used Distress ink on. However, I have to say, again, as a beginner, I don't think Distress ink is the right way to go. And I do think sometimes Distress ink is kind of like not the easy way out. That's not what I'm looking for, but I think that is used more and more for backgrounds. And so when you're first starting out, this is kind of my experience. Backgrounds feel really intimidating, not sure where to start with them. And then you see people using Distress ink, and I think it makes it look pretty easy. So Yeah. I would not say that it's as easy as it looks. In addition to the inks, you're going to have to buy something to apply them. Although some sets do come with the little applicator that has the pads that you can change out. I personally don't use those as much, but probably should. And then a lot of times if you're doing like I said, like a background or something like that, that you could potentially end up going over the line work, you're going to need to mask your page because you can't remove the stress ink. So I would recommend maybe waiting on these until you feel comfortable using stuff like masking fluid or know what you want to use them for. If you do end up wanting to use them for backgrounds, starting with a small set like this, I kind of think is the way to go, or a gradient. So that's one thing that I don't really have here. I mean, I have two kinds of blues, two kinds of greens. These two could maybe go together, these two. So I could kind of put them together. But if you're not wanting to go for like the small ones, you're wanting to go for the bigger ones, I would recommend getting a gradient. So three colors that are in a gradient. And I think that that's probably your best way to go. So as a beginner, I would not buy these again. However, where I'm at in my journey now is probably where I would purchase them if I felt like it was needed. I don't come to them enough to really justify the cost at the moment, but if I were to start coming to these more, then I would say probably more where I'm at in my journey now would be the better place to have bought distress inks. Okay, next I have the Arrtx acrylic marker set. Now this one might be a little controversial as well. I know that Arrtx is pretty generous and sends different creators a lot of their different marker sets to test out. I bought these on my own, and I'm not sure what went wrong. I liked the way that they laid down, and I liked that you didn't have to pump them, but the tips are just so frayed, which is crazy to me because I don't use them enough for them to be as frayed as they are. Now, I did use them for like one big project, and I don't know if maybe that's what frayed them, but a lot of them are just not usable on pages now because the tips are so frayed. So this one's actually looking okay, but the one that I showed you before, for example, you can see like the top is flat. That doesn't work on a page. The black one, I think, if I remember right, is pretty, yeah, the black one is really bad. So, not sure how much you can tell on camera, but the black one is pretty much not usable anymore. So yeah, I don't know if it's just my care of them or what. Like I said, maybe it's just the way that I use them for that project, but I rarely come to them anymore because a lot of the colors that are frayed are the ones that I use, and it's just impossible to use something that's the tip is that damaged on a page, especially the way that I use acrylic markers. I really like acrylic markers like in the background of Teresa Goodridge books. But you have to go around the rest of the line art, and there's some smaller places and things like that. It's almost impossible for me to use a really frayed marker that to get around into those tiny places. So I do think about them for sure. When I need an acrylic marker, I'll come and see what the tip is looking like on a color that I want. They have an okay color range too. I didn't really talk about that as much, but I think that they have an okay color range. It's just that the colors that I would typically use are pretty damaged. So but they have some good things too. Like I said, I like that you don't have to pump them. I don't remember them being too see-through. I think that they cover okay. I don't necessarily use acrylic markers to cover black lines, but I think that they cover the page pretty well, actually. So I don't know. This is just one that I would maybe think twice about before buying as a beginner or advanced, just because of that reason. Now, I'd love to hear from others if your marker set seems to be doing okay, and kind of maybe how you use it, because that, like I said, could be a factor. And then the last supply that I have is the Mango Soft Pastel. Now, the only reason that I would not buy these as oh my goodness, I can't talk. These again as a beginner is because I would just buy the bigger set. That's the only reason why. And I actually have bought the bigger set now. But this one, the color range just doesn't really always meet the need that I'm looking for. So you don't really have like a nice light pink, which I seem to need a lot because I like to use soft pastels to do kind of sunset backgrounds. The only one you have is magenta. So a nice light pink would have been nice in this set. I don't really ever use these greens. The blues are good. The blues are probably the best. The yellows, again, this is kind of like too light and this is kind of too orange. So I'm excited to see what comes in the bigger set. And honestly, these soft pastels are really affordable. I'm not sure why I didn't just get the bigger set in the first place, but that is the only reason that I would recommend not getting these ones as a beginner and instead just upgrading to the bigger set. So little bit of cheating on this one, but I really love these soft pastels. They've worked great for me. Like I said, they're really affordable, and you can just buy some brushes online. And I don't have mine close to me, or I would show you which ones I have, but the ones that I have work really well to apply them. You just want to make sure to keep them clean. Um, and yeah, I think that they're great and they've lasted me a really long time. We can open them up just so you can kind of see, but so you can see some are barely used at all, like this red and the magenta and the greens, and then some are a little bit more used. Like now what color is that? Because that looks pink. Where's the box? So I wonder if that's actually magenta, and the other one is maybe carmine red. Yeah. So I think this one is magenta and this one is carmine red. This one I'm not sure. These are ones that you would probably want to swatch yourself for sure. I usually just do it as I use them, but yeah, the blues I've used a lot of, whatever this one is, which I think this one might be the magenta, some of the oranges and the yellows. So, but yeah, they've lasted me a long time, and I'll still continue to use these ones too. I just wanted a better color range. So those are the Mango soft pastels. You can get them on Amazon. And they should be linked in my Amazon storefront if you're interested in any of these products. I believe should all be linked in my storefront. Okay, now we're going to talk about some supplies I would recommend again as a beginner. So first up is a set of Ohuhu markers. Now there's lots of different options out there. There's ones with brush and fine tip like mine. There's different color sets. I have the pastels because I mostly use alcohol markers for basing. So it doesn't have to be the Ohuhus, but I would say some sort of decent alcohol marker would be a good supply for a beginner to start with. They're great for basing. And I think learning how to base pages early on also is a great tool to have in your toolbox. So those are the alcohol markers. And then I also would recommend a water-based marker. I have the Tombos, but these are a little pricey. I didn't buy these myself. Someone in my family wasn't using them anymore, and so they said that I could have them. Buying them on your own, I think, is a little bit pricey. I don't know that I personally would have, and as you can see, I don't have a full set. I do have quite a few colors. So I would just say some sort of water-based marker is good, and that those can be great for basing on double-sided pages. And so that's why I would recommend both alcohol and water-based markers as a beginner. Next, I would recommend stencils. I just grabbed a few random ones from my collection here, but stencils can be really great for adding different things to backgrounds, and I think they kind of get overlooked sometimes. So yeah, I think a good stencil is always a fun way to add something to a page when needed. These ones are stuck together. I have quite a few different ones. Like I said, I just grabbed a couple of random ones. I never use this cloud one because it's ginormous. That would be a huge cloud on a page. I have a smaller cloud one that I usually use. But so stencils are a good place to start for beginners, especially if you're intimidated by backgrounds. You can maybe find some cool stuff to do with those to help get over your background fear. I still have background fear though, so can't say it necessarily works. And then, of course, a good pencil set. Now, I, as a beginner, prefer wax-based pencils. I know some people really hate wax-based pencils or Prismacolors in general. This is just the only wax-based pencil I have right now, so there's other options out there, but I've always loved Prismacolors. They were the first pencil I ever got. They've, been my go-to forever. So I like how easy they are to do like a straight blend versus layering. I think that for a beginner, the idea of a straight blend is a little bit easier versus say like a oil-based pencil where you're gonna want to do more layering than just a straight blend. Hopefully that makes sense. But I do think that these are a great option for a wax-based pencil, and I do think that starting out with a wax-based pencil is a great option for a beginner. But I also think you should do your research. When it really comes down to it, with all of these things, I think you should do your research to kind of learn about the supplies yourself so that you can kind of get the facts about them, and then you can kind of go more into people's opinions and see which ones might work best for you. So, and then the last supply I have to show you that I would buy again as a beginner are these Ohuhu glitter markers. These are really fun for adding just little details that you want to have some sort of like glitter or sparkle. I also have gel pens, so I guess depending on, I would maybe go with the gel pens first if you don't have those, but these I feel like add in a different way. They cover really well, and now it really depends on the paper as far as if they go through. They're not like an alcohol marker. They're not going to always bleed through to the other side, but I have had some where they do come out, and you do need to pump them in order to get them to come out. So yeah, just be careful which paper you use them on if you're using a double-sided book, because some paper they go through and some they don't. Okay, guys, well, those are the supplies I would not and would buy again as a beginner. Again, these are my own opinions. My main overarching recommendation is that you do your own research on what might work best for you or what might not work best for you. But these are some ideas to get you started. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Happy coloring, everybody. Bye.